Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, everybody. This is Stuart Andrew Alexander back again with another impact-making guest, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what she has to share with us in just a few short moments. Now, today's guest is someone who is a certified brain-based coach of the NeuroLeadership Institute's ICF accredited coach training program, as well as a certified trainer for Dale Carnegie Training since 2003. Now, as a coach and trainer who specializes in brain-based coaching, communication, and interpersonal skills training, she has helped her clients, ranging from mid to C-level executives of varied industries, find relief from the internal blocks that have held them back from achieving their personal and professional goals. They are better able to cope with stressful situations. They experience the ability to be more influential. They find power in their ability to communicate while making positive impact upon others. They feel a heightened sense of clarity, awareness, and self-confidence. And she's here today, ladies and gentlemen, to talk to us about some of the problems, the obstacles, and the misconceptions surrounding the people she has a passion around helping the most and who need to gain an edge so they can think and communicate for maximum impact. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Jackie Kelso, President of PointMaker Communications. Jackie, are you there? Welcome to the show.
Yes, Stuart, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction.
Well, you deserve it. You've done a lot of things in your life, and I'm reflecting everything back out there, which is a reflection of all of your efforts. So really, really happy to have you on here. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to be with us.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be with you today on this show.
You're so welcome, Jackie. You're so welcome. So, Jackie, let's just set the tone for the rest of the show. And if you could just briefly describe who is it that you help, or in other words, who's your perfect prospect?
My perfect prospect is someone in a leadership position who is in some sort of pain, has some level of suffering that is happening, and an awareness of this suffering, but's not sure how to resolve the problem. They usually have an inclination that it could be what they're doing, the way they're communicating, or the impact they're having, and it could also be a lack of being able to manage other people effectively, especially difficult people. And so they really want to focus on improving their professional skill set in the workplace.
Okay, that sounds very interesting, Jackie, and please tell me, while you were out there working with these companies and with these leaders who need to gain an edge so that they can think and communicate much more clearly and for maximum impact, what kind of obstacles have you found that prevent them from achieving that desired outcome?
There could be a multitude of obstacles in the way. And the interesting thing is, most of the time, it's because people want to be able to control what's happening around them, and they have the inability to do so because we all can't control what's around us. So it's really a need to control what's not possible to control. That's the primary obstacle, which gets in the way because that really involves the way we think about things, the belief systems we have, which really become obstacles to success. And then certainly lacking a skill set to communicate effectively, or having a poor attitude, or feeling hopeless. Not having people skills is certainly a detriment to leaders. And what it comes down to is when there's a lack of self-awareness or awareness of others, is when people find themselves having the most amount of obstacles to deal with. And then there are other things like not being able to manage emotions or having a low self-confidence. These are some of the things that really prevent them from achieving their goals and the desired outcomes, as you said.
So, Jackie, one of the things that you just mentioned was leaders not having sufficient people skills. Right. So that, in my mind, and I'm sure in the listeners, kind of equals a big challenge, right? If you have a leader who has qualifications, certifications up to the eyeballs, years and years of experience, they know all of the hands-on tactics, they know the inside workings of the company, they know the structure, they know everything. However, people skills, if they don't have the people skills, go a little bit deeper into that. Maybe name an example without giving away any names because of client confidentiality, but just go a little bit deeper into that for any listeners out there who themselves may be thinking, that sounds like me, I really need to work on my people skills. Maybe you could just shed some light on that for us, please, Jackie.
Sure. The lack of people skills has a wide range to it. It could be not being able to perceive how someone else is feeling. And usually we can see that nonverbally. In fact, nonverbal communication has much more power in the bigger picture than even words, because it can really register what people are really feeling, even though they may be saying something else. So people skills can range from not reading people adequately or accurately to being too aggressive with them and as a result of being too aggressive, putting people in a state of fear or threat, which literally shuts down their thinking part of their brains and creates fear. So that could be on the other extreme of a lack of people skills, is putting other people into threat through bullying or aggression. Another lack of people skills could be just diplomacy, not knowing how to present something or maybe a criticism, or whether it's constructive or asking someone to do something a little differently. It could just be not saying it in a diplomatic way. It could be too rough and gruff. And so people skills, there's a wide range of it. And there's one other aspect, and I think this is really important and speaks to the Dale Carnegie side of my training, which is not appreciating people, not recognizing them for their unique strengths, their unique abilities. And when, we've seen so much research on employee engagement where we know that most people actually leave their work because of a poor relationship with their direct supervisor and because they don't feel that they are valued as unique individuals. So when we talk about people skills, it is very much to do with recognizing people for their uniqueness. And I have many, many examples of it, including having been an employee and having had bosses who have poor people skills. So I could go on and on with examples, but in general, these are the things that when we talk about people skills, the range that we're speaking about.
Okay, Jackie, thank you for sharing that. That's some really, really useful information. Now, you just touched on the topic of people skills, on the lack of people skills and some of the consequences that can happen when that's apparent. You also touched on the nonverbal skills, and obviously that's not just within the workplace, but also within private life. I know that from my partner. I say, hey, your face is saying something completely different to what's coming out of your mouth, right? She has a face. She talks with her face. And I always say, babe, you can't hide anything. I see everything in your face. And she's got her little thing with me where she says, you're up to no good. You've got that cheeky face, right? You're about to do something. You're about to do something cheeky. And she's always right because I just got this giveaway face. So the non-verbal cues you mentioned, very, very useful. And especially for people who have been in the situation that you mentioned of not feeling valued by their boss, right? Not feeling appreciated. So having said all of that and all this great experience that you have, why should people actually, even though it sounds obvious that you're an expert and you know what you're doing, I am the voice of the listeners out there. So for those that have a little bit of doubt, Jackie, why should people actually become your customer? What's your magic ability?
Oh, I love this question. Thank you for asking it, because as a coach, there are many people who do what I do. There are brain-based coaches. There are trainers of all kinds of things related to professional and personal development. And it's really how we communicate our uniqueness that sets us apart and makes people feel confident in our individual abilities. So what I see as my magic, as you say, is that I actually see beneath the surface of a person's negativity or programming or their fear or their anger or their self-doubt. I see past all of that to what I call their light. It's their core power that's underneath the surface, and not so deep underneath the surface, by the way. Most people think that it is, but it's not, because, again, it's looking past, it's going beyond what's on the surface. So I see that light, and I, as a coach, pull that light out, with their permission, of course, through the coaching methodologies that I use. So what that does is it gets them to really start to see, wow, I have all this in me. I didn't know that I could stand up in front of a room and speak so confidently in front of a group. I didn't know that I could state with clarity and conciseness the key point I wanted to make to my prospect. I had no idea that I could deal with the situation with this aggressive coworker so well and so confidently. So the outcomes happen as a result of pulling that light and then working with them from that place to help them experience themselves in these new areas.
And why should they even consider working with you, Jackie? And please forgive me, I'm not being cheeky. I'm really just speaking on behalf of the listeners out there. Why? Why should they become your customer?
I use my life experience in the work that I do, and I have had a long history in both corporate life and advertising world as a salesperson, as a sales manager, and I've now been a professional development trainer and coach for the last 12 or almost 13 years. And, I've really been around the block, and I've had a lot of my own experiences, my own journey. In fact, what started my journey was when I was at MTV Networks, where I was selling advertising, and my boss said to me, I'm going to fire you. And I was like, why? I'm billing millions and millions of dollars for this company. He said, because you bully people, you're too aggressive, you yell at secretaries, you yell at your clients, you make everyone afraid of you. So you're going to have to go unless you change. And he sent me to Dale Carnegie. He sent me to the grandfather of the professional development programs, which is around how to win friends and influence people, which is Dale Carnegie's famous book. And
hold up, Jackie. Hold up. Is it the Dale Carnegie that I'm thinking about that sold millions and millions of books around the world in so many different languages that I couldn't even have the time to count them?
Yes, sir. It is the Dale Carnegie. And in fact, Dale Carnegie celebrated its 100th anniversary in 2012 and is in 80 countries around the world, is in 36 languages, and the book is a best-selling book on Amazon and everywhere. It's a must-read. And so the course they sent me to was the foundational course based on that book, and it changed my life. It changed my life so much so that not only did I not get fired, but I knew that I was on a path down the road to do the work. And so it was then in 2003 that I became a certified trainer there. So it turned me around. So that when I say that, why me? Because I have walked the walk. I am on this journey myself, and I understand the pain of going through corporate life and navigating through these very tough experiences with a lot of dysfunctional people around who have no self-awareness or, no people skills and all of the above. And how do you dance with that? How do you keep yourself thinking clearly, thinking objectively, being able to problem solve, being able to make decisions, and create the perception of yourself as the leader that you want to be? How do you do all that with all the stuff going on all day, every day that is so threatening? How do you become a fabulous public speaker when you're introverted? There are all of these demands on people. So not only my life experience helps me resonate with the people who work with me, but I'm well trained and experienced in helping people move beyond where they are. So I think that's what makes me really valuable, and that I only really work with people based on their desire to want to be their true selves, because that's where I'm coming from. It has to be based on being honest, having integrity, and really genuinely wanting to improve. So if those people out there who are listeners who really want to improve and want to tap into that pure light, that core authenticity, those are the people who are my customers.
Right, and I think it's really important that you put the spotlight on the fact that it's not just life experience, because there are many fantastic people out there that can give you great advice based on their own experiences, right? We think about parents, grandparents, family members, people we know at work. There's some people that you go to, and without knowing it, they are some kind of mentor for you. Mm-hmm. However, the fact that you additionally have the official training, and especially from the Dale Carnegie, come on, that for me is a perfect combination of somebody in the position that's out there helping people with a passion. So I'm really, really happy that you shined the spotlight on that for us, Jackie. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Moving on to the next question. You mentioned you only like to work with people who have a desire to be their true selves. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, very much so.
So when you start to work with these people, and I'm sure you've worked with hundreds, possibly even thousands of these people throughout your 12, 13-year period of being a coach, what are some of the popular misconceptions that you come across that's stopping them from achieving their desired outcome of being able to be their true selves? Mm-hmm. Can you name 2 or 3 popular misconceptions for us, please, Jackie?
Absolutely. I think the biggest misconception is that there's a magical fix, that with training for how to deliver a presentation, or with a one-day seminar on becoming more diplomatic, or with 6 sessions on how to improve your thinking, that's going to be it. It's not enough just to have the knowledge. It's not enough. It's theoretical when you keep it in this place of, well, I know how to. It's only theoretical. It's got to be utilized and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced. So the misconception is, well, I'll pay this coach this and then I'll have this wonderful outcome. Well, no, you'll have the knowledge and the tools, but if you're not completely prepared to practice and practice and practice, try and see how these tools work, or see how you can then own them to make them your own, it won't happen. And so then the coaching becomes a waste of money and time. But so that's where the fervent desire to be one's true self, coupled with the desire to do the work, is going to make it work.
Jackie, earlier you mentioned working with mid to C-level executives from varied industries, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you go about helping them find relief from some of the internal blocks that have been holding them back from achieving their personal and professional goals. And you even help them gain this edge that you spoke about to think and communicate for maximum impact. And while you're out there coaching and helping these people, you get to the point of where you're thinking, you know something, this is going really, really well. This guy understands me. I'm ticking all the boxes. This sounds great. I'm going to be able to help them. I'm going to help this guy. I'm going to help this lady. I'm going to be able to help this company. But then all of a sudden they turn around and say, Jackie, I'm just not going to do this. I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reasons, what are the reasons why people don't buy from you? Why are the reasons that they don't accept your help?
Boy, do we all, as coaches and trainers, know this experience. I think there are many reasons why people don't buy. One is it's not their own idea. It's their boss's idea. It's their spouse's idea. It's their dog's idea. It's not their own idea. People will not step up to the plate to change the way they're being unless that's why I go back to being in pain and suffering. They have to be owning that there's a problem that they are solely responsible for fixing within themselves. So that's one. It's not their idea. That's why they don't buy. The other can be because of the costs can sound so scary. It is a big investment to invest in professional or personal development. And so they look at, wow, this is a chunk of change out of my pocket. How am I going to pay for my daughter's Sweet 16? How am I going to buy that wardrobe for the spring, whatever that is? And the answer really is that, yeah, it is an investment. We're not going to back off on that. It is an investment that will pay off over and over and over again, because it's not even about the investment in this job and making this job work for you. It's an investment in your life, because once you own these skills and the confidence to be able to use them, you own them for life. So you can end up getting bigger salaries, higher titles, build your dream because you've got the foundation. So that's why the investment is so worthy. I had a client who worked at a very major hospital here in New York City, and they complained to him about his lack of ability to manage, to communicate effectively, to get cooperation from the people that report to him, blah, blah, blah. And they said, you better fix this. So he said, okay, well, can you pay for me to get some training, some coaching? They said, no, this is on you. So he hired me, and we worked together for about 2.5 to 3 months. We had weekly sessions, and by the time we ended, his managers were thrilled with his new skill set and his ability to manage up, to handle difficulties, etc. And he got to keep his job, and he's still there. This is now about 3 years, doing a fine job because he practiced all these skills. And then, shock of all shocks, I get a call from his sister who wants to have coaching with me, and she's an executive at a major financial institution, and she paid for the coaching herself, which was about a 3-month engagement. So I know that investments in oneself can end up paying off greatly for the long term.
So in terms of the risk to reward ratio, can you shed a little bit of light on that? Because I think that's a really important point that's on our listeners' minds. Because yes, I need to invest this, but I'm taking a risk because I've got to invest this. I may have to take some money away from there, take money from Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
And that's a risk for me. So what can be the return on investment? Can you talk a little bit about that for us, Jackie?
Well, the return on investment has everything to do with the person who's purchasing the coaching. Has everything to do with his or her determination, his or her willingness to practice what we're working on, and the fervent desire for what is taught to work. It's all about attitude and determination. It's like anything you purchase or make an investment in, if you don't use it to the fullest or enjoy it thoroughly, it's a waste of an investment, no matter what it is. And to answer your question about ROI, that's a very fuzzy thing to be able to state this person increased his effectiveness by 45% because of coaching. It doesn't really look that way. It looks more like I'm feeling better, I'm feeling confident, I'm dealing with these challenging situations well, I'm thinking clearly, I'm communicating my message, I'm having a happier life, and I'm getting what I want out of my life. I'm seeing results because people are hiring me. Whatever the goals are, it just happens to unfold over time with the practice and the determination. So I wish I could give a hardcore number, but I would not be truthful if I said, yes, you'll see 50% improvement in these things. It just isn't an answer I can give.
Yeah, that is understandable. I mean, all those elements that you just mentioned form the foundation to create or to help create the environment where somebody can then perform at their highest level, at their best level, at their most efficient level, and then that can be tracked. Figures and numbers can be generated, and return on investment can then be evaluated. But if there's somebody who's going to work and, they got low self-confidence, they're not feeling good, and they just don't believe that they can do this, then return on investment is going to be very low to null anyway. So yes, work on the self, build yourself up to that point where you feel like, yeah, I can do this. I have the confidence to do this. And then the outcome of that, of feeling you're the right person for that particular job or that task, can then be tracked, and that's the return on investment. So, yeah, does that make sense?
It does. I would say if you take a sales training course, sales training should be able to detect, an ROI at the end of it, because if someone is improving his or her sales skills, they will know directly the impact of the training to the ability to produce more revenue. It's assuming that factors like the marketplace stays about the same, those types of factors that, where a trained seller can influence an outcome. So that's a little bit different than the brain-based type of coaching that I offer, which is helping people manage their own emotional state so they can think clearly, make better decisions, solve problems, and also where they're communicating more effectively or being more impactful with others in a positive way. These are things that the change occurs over time, and suddenly you realize, whoa, I'm feeling good when I walk into work. That's why it's so hard to determine the ROI.
Great. So, Jackie, so far you've been awesome. You know what I really love about you? You haven't attempted to sell anything. You have just been very educational. You've put a lot of great information out there for the listeners, and we really, really appreciate that. So we know that part of Jackie, that she's an educator and she's an advocate for her prospects and client success. But who is Jackie Kelso? Where does she come from? How did Jackie Kelso get to where she is today? Share a little bit about your backstory. Maybe what influenced you? Was it a book, a movie, people you knew as a young person? Please just briefly go into your backstory for us, Jackie.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Stuart. Well, I am a New Yorker through and through. And, as I mentioned before, Dale Carnegie Training really influenced me. It helped to wake me up about ways of behaving that's appropriate in a business setting, but it also spilled out into the rest of my life. And as a relatively young woman, when I took the course, it just set me on a path of being more effective and certainly knowing the difference. And I recognized that, we're not born knowing when we walk into corporate life a way of being. We're not born with that. We have to learn through painful experiences the things that we need to do to change. So that was a huge gift to me. And then years later, I was actually looking to transition from ad sales into professional development training. And so I was working at Hearst, running the Team Internet division from the sales and marketing perspective. And and I was feeling very much like I just don't feel the passion for the sales stuff anymore and not really sure about my future. But I was at that time still training at night to become a Dale Carnegie trainer. Well, at the same time, I met this guy who was a jazz musician and just living his passion, living his purpose, traveling the world. And his name is John Eric Kellso. And I had a big crush on John Eric Kellso because I was a fan of his. And as it turns out, I was dating him at the time. And I just loved watching him pick up his trumpet and go around the world and play it. And I thought, if this man can do this, then I can follow my passion too. And so after I saved up enough money I collected for commission, I decided that I was going to take the big leap to do professional development, training, and coaching full-time, not knowing anything about PointMaker Communications, not knowing how influential Dale Carnegie would be in terms of an employer, having no knowledge about the NeuroLeadership Institute, but just taking the leap of faith. And I later on married John Eric Kelso. He's my fabulous husband and gifted musician, but he really was my muse. And we live a life together of living our passion, and I've built this business out of that passion and that fervent desire to help others and to continue growing as a human being myself while I get to enjoy all this fabulous jazz. So it's a nice life. So I hope that gives you a little bit of my backstory.
Jackie Kelso, she sounds great. She sounds like she knows what she's talking about. She sounds very genuine. She's got all of this great experience, Dale Carnegie Institute, 13 years as a coach herself. I want to know more. I want to be able to get in touch with Jackie Kelso. How do people get in touch with you, Jackie? Easy.
You can go to my blog or my website, which is www.PointMakerCommunications.com, where I post my articles such as your most difficult coworker is your greatest teacher. And there's an article called Detach and Breathe, which is my mantra for keeping my brain nice and calm so I can think clearly, and other articles about how to be assertive and how to communicate succinctly and powerfully. So lots of good stuff there. So they can find me on my website, or to go to LinkedIn and just look up my name, Jackie Kelso, JackieKelso. That's 2 L's. That's how people can find me.
Perfect. Jackie, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. We don't have any more time. I feel I could just sit here and talk to you for hours and hours and hours on end. But before we go, Jackie, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Oh, well, first of all, I want to thank you, Stuart, so very much for inviting me to speak on this program with you and for your thoughtful questions. And thank the listeners out there, and to let the listeners know that there's support and there are ways for things to get a lot better, and there's a lot of help out there. So wishing all the listeners all the best in search for their most desired outcomes.
Thank you so much, Jackie. This show wouldn't be anything without entrepreneurs like yourself that come on here and share their educational and informational content with the listeners. So I thank you on behalf of myself and the listeners. So thank you very much, Jackie. Well, I'll be speaking with you very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, that was it. That's another show with yours truly, Stuart Andrew Alexander. I'm saying goodbye for now. Today is my birthday, so I'm shutting everything down, and I'm going to go out with my partner and have a really lovely evening.
Oh, great.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Jackie, and God bless to each and every one of you out there. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.